We have to start in the Pentagon. We need to make a trigon, 3 sides instead of 5 sides in the Pentagon. It is way too big, way over bloated.
I've been in touch with Elon Musk, who's a great patriot, interested in advancing the America First agenda, knows that President Trump got 77 million votes and a mandate from the American people, and part of that is bringing actual business-like efficiency to government, hence what DOGE is doing. We've been talking to them in partnership with them, and as I said on social media, we welcome DOGE to the Pentagon.
My post on X that was from yesterday said 2 amazing things just happened. First, I went on about a half a dozen right-wing shows, and they all agreed we should cut the Pentagon. I'm all for this. So is pretty much everyone I know on the right.
Now the question is, where exactly do Republicans want to cut funding within the Pentagon? Do they want to cut wasteful spending as it pertains to private military contractors who inflate prices specifically to fleece the American people? No, they don't. They don't want to do anything about that. It turns out that they're specifically looking to cut the Pentagon budget as it pertains to anything that might mitigate the killing of civilians when we engage in wars. So let's get to the details. The Defense Department is going to eliminate its efforts as it pertains to a cross-command effort known as the Civilian Harm Mitigation and Response. This is the main entity behind the effort. It's known as the Civilian Protection Center of Excellence. So that is the center where the cuts will be made, okay, specifically. The center, by the way, has this massive budget, okay? Think about it. We give the Pentagon, not we, but Congress allocates nearly $1 trillion at this point, a year, to the Pentagon. So keep that figure in mind when I tell you this bloated budget that the Civilian Protection Center of Excellence gets every year, okay? The center has an annual budget of $7 million. $7 million, John.
That's 10% of the military budget, I think. I'm not good at math. It's like 10%, I think, right?
$7 million out of, I mean, what was the last figure? I think it was like in the ballpark of $800 billion for the Pentagon, $800 billion. They have a lot of employees though, 30 employees at the Civilian Protection Center of Excellence. Great. So Wes Bryant, the center's branch chief for civilian harm assessment, stated that the Pentagon informed him that it was putting an end to all civilian harm reduction work. By the way, aside from the morality associated with protecting innocent civilians, there's a strategic reason why you would want to mitigate civilian harm as the United States engages in war, right? Now, John, what would that strategic mission be?
Not utterly enraging the other side or inspiring more people to join radical groups or, advocate for the same techniques to be used against either our service members or our civilians. I assume there's probably several.
Exactly, right? So there's a strategic reason for this. And obviously, for anyone who's got a pulse, there should be a moral reason why you would want to mitigate any harm that could be done to civilians as we engage in war. Now, like with other federal agencies, probationary employees at the center have been told to basically either accept a buyout or risk the possibility of getting fired. And as of now, no one's been fired yet. Now, it's worth noting that the personnel at the center did not have authority to prevent strikes that could lead to civilian deaths. It's specifically an advisory role for the military, okay? But it's an important advisory role that now appears to be in the crosshairs of DOGE. And this is not the kind of funding that I was worried about when it came to the Pentagon. I was worried about weapons manufacturers, private defense contractors fleecing American citizens, and it appears that they will be free to continue doing that. Nevertheless, Hexit seems to be eliminating any potential barriers to military operations. For instance, according to the Washington Post, Hexit recently granted commanders the ability to greenlight strikes without higher level authorization, rolling back the approval layers imposed by the Biden administration that some military leaders found to be slow and bureaucratic. It would have been nice if Biden had, implemented the same standards when it came to the IDF, who we completely support monetarily and through weapons. But anyway, there's also plenty of other cuts on the horizon. So the Pentagon, in a statement, said that about $50 billion will be reduced from the planned fiscal 2026 budget. And those dollars wouldn't be lost to the military, but instead will then be spent on programs aligned with President Trump's priorities. So brace for impact. We don't know exactly which priorities we're talking about here. In other words, this isn't about cuts. This is about cutting programs that actually are not that wasteful at all and are important, while also moving money around to Trump's so-called priorities. And we would like to recommend that the Pentagon start going after, the actual waste, fraud, and abuse when it comes to defense contractors. Let me give you a little taste of what I'm talking about. According to the costs of war project, more than half of the department's annual budget is now spent on military contractors that are notorious for overbilling the government. In fact, last year, we learned that Boeing was selling soap dispensers to the Air Force that were marked up by almost 8,000%. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Yeah, 8,000%. And to be specific, the Department of Defense Office of Inspector General said on Tuesday, the Air Force overpaid nearly $1 million for a dozen spare parts, including $149,072 for an undisclosed number of laboratory soap dispensers. That followed a 2018 congressional inquiry that revealed the Air Force was spending $1,300 for each reheatable coffee cup on its KC-10 aircraft, and then replacing them instead of repairing them when their handles broke. Senator Chuck Grassley, a Republican from Iowa, found the Air Force spent $32,000 replacing 25 cups. And so, why aren't we tackling the real waste here, John?
Yeah. And look, I think those I love those examples, and that's definitely waste. And I'm sure you can find thousands and thousands of those examples. Some of the most high dollar, military contracts for things like some of the planes, some of the those sorts of things is where the real money, I think, goes. But also, it's we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bases around the world. If you want to cut, you're going to have to close down a significant number of those bases. And that isn't necessarily as sexy as even the coffee cups, which are a great example. But if you want to be serious about these cuts, then you have to actually be serious. And they're not going to do that. Because I don't even think they really find, the examples you just gave, I don't even think they really find that to be wasted money. Because it went to military contractors. Who the hell cares if it's for like 3 soap dispensers or an actual bomb? The money went to good people, military contractors, so it doesn't matter. And I do think maybe Hegseth would okay cutting the soap dispensers. Dude doesn't wash his hands anyway, so I don't think he'd see the value in that particular product. But no, I hope that Cenk is successful in this particular area. I think it would be great. I haven't seen any indication yet that we're gonna see any actual cuts, just reallocation of money. To border defense, to deportation operations, to building camps, to building a wall. Is that better than sending bombs to Israel? I mean, I guess we can have a conversation, but we're still spending the money. It's not actually a cut. And so it feels very much like DOGE, where the savings don't really manifest. It's just anything they ideologically oppose, they now get to kill while screaming efficiency. I think this is somehow worse than if we just let all of the waste go on.
Yeah, I mean, they're just gutting programs that they don't like. And these programs, I mean, look, some of them I might agree, but I haven't really come across too many of those, right? So there were certainly a few USAID programs that I was like, I don't mind them cutting this at all. There were some that I did mind them cutting. When you're talking about the Pentagon, which has failed literally 7 audits in a row, they have not passed a single audit. You're gonna specifically target this one tiny center that tries to mitigate harm to civilians as your big project in cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. $7 million, really? That's what you're focusing on? By the way, I'm gonna reiterate what the Trump administration did twice over the course of the last month. They have bypassed Congress twice to send Israel an additional $6 billion, $6 billion with a B, in military aid. You want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. They're not cutting funding, okay? They're targeting whatever they feel are their like political opponents or policies that are favored by the left. That's it. And it's pathetic. It really is. I mean, the Pentagon is such a great target. I mean, think about the goodwill that the Trump administration could build among the electorate, even people who didn't vote for them, if they actually followed through on doing legitimate cuts when it comes to waste. But that's not what's happening here, and it's important for everyone to know that.
Super quick reminder that this is definitely in line with Hegseth as a person. He spent 5-10 years before getting this job advocating for people accused of war crimes, people who'd executed prisoners, just walked up, knifed them to death. Their own fellow service members in their unit were like, you cannot pardon these people. These are terrible people. And they pardoned him. He advocated on Fox News for it. Now that he's in charge, Trump has actually pardoned some of these accused war criminals. They love the idea of collateral damage and of civilians being murdered. I don't know why, but they clearly do.
Look, Hegseth has always shown himself to be a neoconservative. Like, I don't know why his reputation and past is being laundered as something other than that, but it's just the truth.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.